It is time for us to soak our nuts, seeds, and grains so that we can make some delicious raw food recipes tomorrow. So, what's the scoop on soaking? If you already know, skip to the next video and go do something fun instead. If you do want to make sure that you're doing it right, I want you to have that confidence going into it. I want to make sure that you know exactly what we're doing. Well, we are simply soaking the nuts, just like it sounds. It's really, really simple. The reason that we soak the nuts is to enliven the enzymes. Seeds and nuts have enzyme inhibitors that keep them from becoming plants until the circumstances are right. So when we're soaking them, we're saying, okay guys, wake up, time to party. We rinse off those inhibitors, we enliven the plant, and now we're dealing with something that's like live produce. So we want to treat it as such. If we're not going to use it right away, just like a head of lettuce or a nice juicy red apple or something, we're going to go ahead and keep that produce in the refrigerator until we're going to use it. Because when it's a seed, fine, you can store it any old way, but once it's alive, we do have to keep it in the fridge. So how do we soak our nuts and seeds properly? Well, first off, we want to start by rinsing the nuts that we get. A lot of times raw organic almonds and such are cheaper when you buy them in bulk, which is fine if you want to get them that way, but who knows who's been sticking their hands in there or anything, so we want to make sure that they're nice and clean. So we give them a rinse in the water in a strainer and just make sure that they're nice and clean. Once we've rinsed them off, I've already rinsed these, we just put them in water. Now I like to make sure there's 2, 3, 4 times as much water as nuts in there, definitely plenty of water, because remember, you're releasing those enzyme inhibitors. You want to have plenty of nuts or plenty of water for the nuts to release everything they need to release. And that reminds me, when you come back to the nuts the next day, they might look like the water's a little murky and nasty. That's just the nut releasing everything, so don't worry about that. That's natural. So we have 1 cup of almonds that we're soaking. This is going to become almond milk, and we'll use that in a delicious coffee replacement beverage called maca faca. You'll definitely want to review the video on that. We have 1 other cup of almonds with pecans. So this bowl has 1 cup pecans and 1 cup of almonds that have been rinsed, just like we just talked about, and they're soaking in water. Now, why are these nuts soaking together? They're soaking together because we're going to use them in the same recipe. So we don't want to be separating half the almonds over here and some pecans over there. If they're both nuts and they're going to be used in the same recipe, I just go ahead and soak them together in the same bowl, and then when I need to use it in the recipe, I rinse them and dump them in together. Easy as pie. We also have 2 cups of macadamia nuts that have been rinsed and are soaking. Those will be the base of our macadamia cream, which will become the tzatziki sauce and also the nacho cheese, which is delicious. Now, the other thing that we're soaking here is our oat groats. Now, oat groats, you would not want to soak with something else. So later in the cleanse, we'll be making, say, a granola that has both soaked nuts and also oat groats in it. Now, we don't want to soak nuts and groats together. Why not? Nuts are releasing their enzyme inhibitors, and grains are soaking in water and plumping up. So we don't want those enzyme inhibitors from the nuts soaked into the grains. So always go ahead and soak your oat groats separately. Okay, same with buckwheat groats, any groats. You want to go ahead and soak those separately, even if they're used in the same recipe with a nut that you're also soaking. So that's it. Soaking is really simple. There is one thing that we will not need it for tomorrow, but I'd like to tell you now anyway, and that is a little trick about soaking flax seeds. Flax seeds can serve as a binder, since we're not going to be eating raw eggs or eggs of any kind on the cleanse. We can use eggs in cracker and bread recipes as sort of a binder. You'll notice when you soak flax seeds, either the brown or their little cousins, the golden flax seeds, when you soak them, they'll soak up quite a bit of water. So pay close attention to the recipe. Sometimes it will tell you soak 1 cup of flax seeds in 2 cups of water and keep the water. That means all that reserved water is going to go in the recipe too. Now, you'll notice that flax seeds get a little mucusy, snotty looking water. It's actually kind of gross looking. Don't worry about that. That's exactly what you want it to do, and that sticky mess that they end up soaking in is what's going to help bind crackers together and make them really, really crispy, so don't worry too much about that. You'll also get that same snotty texture when you soak the buckwheat groats. Get that also. So don't worry about that. That's fine and natural. Everything's all good, and that is very simple. Now, all we're going to do is soak these. You can just put them in before you go to bed and let them soak, or if you get up early in the morning and you have time, of course you could soak soak and then go to work. When you come home, these nuts will be ready to rinse and use in your recipes. Either way is fine. Now, again, once it's soaked, it is like live produce, which means it can go bad much quicker. So once you have them rinsed and drained and soaked, keep them in a dry container, dry, clean container, and pop them in the refrigerator. If something happens with your schedule and you don't end up using them that day or the next day, that's fine. They'll keep 3-4 days in the refrigerator, no problem. That's easy. You're ready to soak and start your delicious cleanse tomorrow.